Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's look is a water skull that features water details such as water droplets and ripples and things like that. So if you guys are interested in how I created this look, then go ahead and just keep watching. First off, we're going to use the power of editing to put on some brows like that. There we go. Just go ahead and do your normal brow routine. And then on only the upper half of our face, I'm going to begin blending some foundation just on the upper half because the bottom half is of course going to be the water skull, so no point in wasting any foundation down there. So go ahead and just blend your everyday foundation using a sponge or brush or whatever you prefer. And once you're happy with the coverage, go ahead and move on to your concealer. Conceal any areas of imperfections or anywhere you want to brighten up. I'm just using a small blending brush to buff this out and give a nice clean blend to the concealer into my foundation. I'm also going to take the excess of concealer left on my brush and bring it over top of my eyelids just to give a nice base for the shadows that we will be applying shortly. After we have all our concealer in place where we want it, we're going to move on to setting that concealer and foundation in place. I'm going to go ahead and add powder mainly on my under eyes and any areas of the face that I'm worried may crease, like my forehead. And I'm also going to add a bake underneath my eyes so that if I get any fallout from the eyeshadow I'm going to be applying, I can just simply wipe it away with no leftover shadow left on my cheek. It just keeps the makeup looking super clean. So next I'm taking a very light blue shade and I'm going to begin blending this into my crease to create our nice teal colored smoky eye. So with these lighter shades, it's easier to pack them on and then blend to get the optimal pigmentation of the shadow. So if you find yourself working with very sheer or very pastel eyeshadow shades, then please remember to press and then blend. I promise you it'll make your life a whole lot easier. After that, I'm picking up a deep teal shade and blending that directly underneath that light blue shade we just laid down. This overall just adds more depth to the eye and helps us to build up more towards that teal smoky eye we're aiming towards. I'm using a very tiny precise blending brush to get that color right into the crease area where we want it to stick. Now on a big dense packing brush, I'm going to mix that deep teal shade we used in our crease and a little bit of black, and I'm going to pack that onto my eyelid to create the deepest shade of the look. Next, on a small packing brush, I'm picking up that light blue shade we used initially in the crease, and I'm just blending that along using the pack and blend technique we talked about earlier, basically creating a gradient from dark to light and making sure I really blend out those shades. So I'm going to be adding some white mascara to my upper lashes, just carefully combing that through. I decided I wanted to do white lashes for this look to kind of be a little bit different than doing black lashes as we're used to seeing, and because it accentuates the white highlights that we're going to be adding to our drips that come later on in the skull that I will be showing you guys. Here I'm using some white face paint to coat a black pair of false lashes to make them fit better for the look that I'm going for, and voila, our white lashes are on. I'm then going to add a teal eyeliner to my waterline to make it pop. Next, I'm taking a bright highlighting shade and adding that to the inner corner of my eyes to really make them stand out and bring attention to them. We don't want them to get lost throughout the rest of the look. And I'm also going to add this shade to my brow bone just to make it pop and accentuate it a bit. To add some dimension and warmth, since we're still in the glam portion of the look, I'm going to add some bronzer to my temples. Now moving on to my favorite part of glam makeup, the highlight. I'm just going to add this to my forehead area, nose, and cheekbones, of course, to really make them pop and stand out. So that is it for the upper portion of the face. The glam makeup is done, and now let's get into the fun stuff. I'm going to begin sketching out the shape of my skull and where I want it to lay on my face. I'm just using an eyeliner pencil to do this and really help me map it out. I'm drawing some lines out from my mouth to know where to put the teeth. I'm drawing in the jaw. I definitely recommend looking at reference pictures of skulls. That helped me out a ton. Next, I'm going to fill in my skull with a teal water-based face paint. These are just water-activated paints that you activate with a little bit of water or setting spray or something like that. And I'm just going to paint this literally all over the skull except for those open jaw areas on the side of my face. You can see I left those out. And then I'm going to tie my hair back because things are about to get a little messy because we're bringing this color all the way down our neck onto our chest. Literally all the upper exposed part of my body is going to be covered blue. So you're just going to want to take your time with this, take a big fluffy brush and blend it around. I fell in love with the texture that water has when the light hits it in the pool or the ocean, so that's the kind of look I'm going for. So I'm just starting out by sketching out some white lines with some water activated white face paint and a tiny detail brush. I found that looking at reference photos of water textures kind of helped me to get down the pattern that I was going for. So I'm just going to continue on drawing on these abstract shapes around the skull to get that water pattern that I'm looking for. Next, I'm taking a deep teal shade like the ones that we used in the crease, and I'm just going to trace around those white lines and kind of shade them in, leaving a patch of that face paint in the center. So almost like adding a shadow to those white water texture lines that we added onto the face, and then going over top with a white eyeliner just over top of those white face painted areas to add further texture to the skull and make it look a little bit more like fluid water. Now, using some eyeshadow, we're going to make it look like our skull is a little bit more sunken in. So I'm using a large eyeliner brush to take some of that dark teal shade and black, and I'm just shading that along the line where the skull meets our face. This just adds a lot of depth and dimension to the skull. It also makes it look like our glam portion of our face is kind of floating on top of the skull rather than just being two lines meeting together, if that makes sense. You guys can see those few eyeshadows made a huge difference, so I'm just going ahead and repeating that on the other side of the skull. Now I'm taking a makeup wipe and wiping off some excess face paint from around my mouth area because this is where we're adding the teeth and they are a light blue color, so I really want them to pop. I'm using a shadow brush to just draw on these raindrop shaped teeth. The top teeth will just have raindrops in their normal shape and the bottom teeth will be the same, just flipped. So basically just using the eyeshadow brush to create the circle part and then flicking out the bottom portion to create the raindrop like tail. And then I'm going in between each tooth with some of that teal face paint to fill in those areas. So now we're going to begin shading the raindrop teeth to bring them to life. So the left side will be the highlight side and the right side will be the shadow side. So using a very tiny detail brush, I'm using some white face paint to shade in the left side of each raindrop tooth. Now, taking a very precise shadow brush, I'm going to take some black eyeshadow and trace around each individual raindrop tooth. This is really going to make that blue face paint that we used to create the raindrops pop and stand out. On a precise brush, I'm picking up some more of our deep teal shade and blending that onto the right side of the raindrop. I'm leaving a little bit of that light blue face paint as a border to highlight the raindrop and make it look a little bit more realistic. Taking our white eyeliner, I'm just adding some little white highlights onto each individual raindrop. So using this same pattern that I just showed you guys for those two raindrop teeth, I'm going to go through and finish off the rest of the teeth using that same pattern. Shading in water droplets was super tricky for me at first. I had to practice a lot on my leg and hand to get it down, but I found that looking at plenty of reference pictures is what really helped me out and get the pattern down. Now on a fluffy blending brush, I'm taking some more of our deep teal shade and blending that around the tail area of the raindrops just to add some depth and make them look a little bit more sunken into the water skull. Now we're going to go ahead and fill in that open jaw area. So I'm first going to outline it with black eyeshadow and then follow that up with some dark teal eyeshadow. And then in the very center, we're going to add some very light blue shadow, kind of like the same gradient that we have in our eyes, but in that little sunken in jaw area. Taking some of that deep teal shadow on a tiny shadow brush, and I'm going to begin blending that along and creating those weird shapes that we started out with on the face part of our skull. I found this method to be a little bit quicker, so I'm showing this method to you guys. And I'm just going to create the shapes of the water ripples that I want, and then once I'm happy with them, I'm going to fill in over top in the center of them with white face paint so that a little bit of that shadow peeks through on either side, creating that shaded in effect that we did on the top portion of the skull. But this way just makes it a little bit quicker and you still kind of get the same effect. Again, just going over those white face paint areas with some white eyeliner. I feel like this really brings the look to life and adds dimension to the water ripples that we're looking for. You don't have to be super exact with this step. If it's a little messy, you can definitely get away with it. Now, using a face wipe, I'm just wiping off some areas of the chest, like the collarbones and the neck bone area. I'm sorry, I don't know the proper name for it. And then I'm going to draw in some larger raindrops in these areas. I wanted to wipe it off first so that the light blue color would really pop. Then picking up some more of that teal shade on a flat shadow brush, I'm just going to fill in around the areas where the skin is peeking through to recreate that illusion. Now using some more of that deep teal shadow, I'm just shading around the raindrops on my collarbones and neck area to add some depth and make them pop out. And then again, like we did with the teeth, we're going to highlight the left side and make the shadow be on the right side. So just using some white face paint to add the highlights and a very precise detail brush to color this in. And then on the right side, using a big flat shadow brush, I'm bringing in some more of that deep teal to create the shadow of the raindrop. Now picking up some more black eyeshadow on a large eyeliner brush, I'm going to begin blending that around the border of the larger raindrops on the chest area and blending that out with some more of that deep teal shade. And with our white eyeliner, I'm going to add some highlights to the raindrops. Then using a mixture of black and teal, I'm going to shade along my jawline to accentuate it and add some shadowing there. Kind of a creepy water contour for our skull, if you will. And with the power of editing, the rest of the pieces on the chest area are shaded and filled in. I'm just going back in with my trusty white eyeliner to add some further details. I wanted to tie in a little bit more of the glam portion of the look with the water skull portion, so I decided to add some little water droplets onto that part of the look. So again, just using the same system we've been using, shading on the right side and highlighting on the left and adding in those white highlights. I'm just adding some little droplets onto the glam portion of the look. It just kind of ties everything together and finishes it off. To finish off the skull, I'm adding our skull nose, and I'm covering up my nose with some black eyeshadow to just kind of cancel it out and make your eye focus more so on the water droplet we're using for the skull nose. And of course, just doing our same shading method. By now, you guys should know the drill. Shading on the right, highlight on the left, and voila, we have our little water droplet nose. Just gotta add in our white highlights with our white eyeliner. So I decided I wanted my lower lashes to be white as well, so I just went ahead and coated those. We are going full white lash today. And with that, my friends, the look is complete. Thank you guys for coming along with this water skull journey with me. I hope that you guys very much enjoyed watching. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And you can follow me on my social media, mcdrew on Instagram and _mcdrew on Twitter, so I can chat with you guys when I'm not here uploading. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!
You're fine.
What's something floating?
It's just a seaweed. Okay, here, let's just do one more pan. Just stay.
I'm